I am recording. Ba, ba, ba.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 624th episode of the Pokemon Podcast. It's super effective. I'm your host, Steve. With me is Hannah.
I am here. I am wearing last year's Pokemon Go Fest shirt with this year's Pokemon Go Fest in mind. I don't know. I'm excited.
Bobby also here.
I am here, and I am not wearing last year's Pokemon Go Fest shirt. I almost did, though. I was so close to putting that one on.
Almost 2 weeks of matching.
Almost 2 weeks
to
of
one.
matching. Switched it up at the last second.
Speaking of Pokemon Go Fest, Hannah and myself will be at Pokemon Go Fest in New York, which is this upcoming weekend. And Greg, yes. Greg's not here, but you got Bobby.
Yeah, and I won't be there.
Bobby won't be there. Bobby will only go to Pokemon Go Fest once it's in San Diego.
Or LA. If whenever they bring it to Los Angeles, I'll drive up to Los Angeles.
What if they brought it back to Seattle?
I'd probably go to Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd probably...
West
Coast, you know?
I would love for it to come back to Seattle. That's easy for me.
Yeah.
Seattle was a good Go Fest. I am doing my... Here's the housekeeping, house cleaning. I don't remember what we used to call it. Before we start, I'll be streaming on Friday and Saturday. So if you see me, feel free to stop me, say hi, all that stuff. Although I will have a camera on my shoulder, and you might not want a camera in your face. So to combat the not wanting a camera in your face, we will be doing a big group meetup on Sunday. I think we're going to plan a meeting at the Apple Store right out of Central Park. Which one is that? Fifth Ave?
I think so.
The big glass cube.
Yeah, the big glass cube. I'm not going to say Central Park. Well, it's across the street from Central Park because Central Park is so big. So I think it's easier just to meet at the giant cube.
Yeah, and there's plenty of standing room there. Almost all the store is underground.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that noon on Sunday. That gives you time to get breakfast. That gives you time to sleep in. So noon on Sunday, if you listen to this podcast, if you're in the Slack, if you're in the Discord, the Apple Store cube at noon, and then we'll all get together, and then we'll pick a direction, and we'll go walk together and hang out. I'll also be bringing a little camera that does the little Polaroids. So if you want a picture, if you find me,
Polaroid camera,
a camera that does the Polaroids, a Polaroid camera. So that will be easier to do on Sunday because, again, on Friday and Saturday, I'll be streaming on Twitch. And then I'm not bringing the backpack on Sunday just to pretty much hang out with people without the fear of, oh, there's a camera here. So I get it. I also, if I'm just lounging around, do not want a camera shoved in my face.
If you're on vacation, no.
Yeah. No.
So I don't know when your play day is, Hannah. Mine is technically Friday in the park.
I believe mine is Saturday morning. It's whichever time most of the Slack people are going. I think that's Saturday morning.
I think most Slack people are Saturday morning, which is why, again, we're doing this Sunday, Apple Store, noon, the Cube.
The Cube.
The Cube. And that's if you can't show up, no big deal. If you only want to hang out for an hour or two, also no big deal. It's not like when you show up at noon, you're required to stay until when's Go Fest over? 6?
Maybe 7. But yeah, we're chill.
7, yeah. Yeah.
No sign-in sheets, sign-in, sign-out sheets.
Yeah, we'll be taking attendance on Sunday. But like I said, if you see me, I'm sure if you see Hannah or Greg, they would also don't mind being stopped to say hello.
If you recognize me, I'll be in a mask and maybe a hat. It's hard to recognize me in that. But I'm short.
So.
And you'll probably be wearing a Pokemon Go or a Pokemon shirt.
Probably, unless I'm wearing my sun shirt because I don't want to get sunburnt because it's going to be summer in New York.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Heat.
I saw, as of last night, I saw it might rain on Saturday for a bit.
Really? Okay.
But Friday and Sunday look clear. It said about a half an inch.
Interesting.
That
So,
would make...
I don't,
Good to plan for.
Yeah. Bring an umbrella.
Speaking of Pokemon Go Fest, Hannah, myself, and Bobby talked about Madrid and Japan, and our episode last week was already 2 hours long, and I think it was 2 hours and 40 minutes, so I cut that, and that's a bonus episode now on Apple Podcast or just our Patreon feed. So you can get that if you don't. Well, I guess if you're listening on Apple and you don't want to pay money, they do offer a free 2-week trial. You can listen to all the premium episodes and then cancel after that and not pay anything if you want to. Or if you want to support, you can just subscribe to that. Otherwise, Patreon, and then you can use any podcast app you want, which you could use the Apple Podcast app with Patreon, but Apple wants to make it as easy as possible to take your money. They're very good at that's why we're meeting at the Cube. Apple is very good at taking your money.
Well, you are absolutely allowed to sign up for the Apple Podcasts and then forget as well, and just stay signed up for it for years to come.
The World of Warcraft tactic. And then this is the last day of Pride. We're recording this on June 30th, so happy Pride. I wanted to say thank you to everyone who came to our charity Twitch stream. We raised $1,800 for Queer Space Collective, which is actually located here in the Twin Cities. I know people who worked directly with this charity and benefited from it, so that's why I picked it this year. So to anyone who came out, even if you just watched, if you didn't have $5 to spend, still supportive. So thank you to I ended up streaming for only 4 hours and we raised $1,800, and that is a lot of money in 4 hours. So thank you to everyone who donated. It was cool. It was fun. I opened Pokemon cards. Also fun. And then our final bit of housekeeping or house cleaning. I made the internet mad this weekend.
Yay! You've made it.
I did it. I made them mad. So I bought a bunch of stuff in Japan, and
How dare.
And I like to film with natural sunlight, so it really makes filming days quite hard if the sun isn't hitting my kitchen in a certain way.
I totally understand this, first taking pictures of things sometimes with natural light.
I had like a 20-minute window yesterday, so I'm filming as fast as possible stuff I got from Japan. One of them is like a Knackley salt shaker.
Those are so good. I wanted one of those the moment I saw that they existed.
Yeah, when you're done talking about this, I have to tell you about the reaction I had to what you're about to say.
Okay. So if you've never seen my Instagram, TikTok, whatever, it's usually ASMR. It wasn't planned to be ASMR when I was filming it. I always planned to put music, but the one time I forgot to add music, it popped off. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm not using music. I'll just keep the
It's better. It's better that way. It's great. I love it.
So I dropped the salt shaker. I opened it up, the little crinkles of opening it. And then it's a salt shaker, right? There's nothing to really show. It looks like Knackley, and it's a salt shaker. And when I'm opening one of these $100 Pokeballs, right? It has buttons, it has sound, it has different modes. So it's a better opening experience, I guess, because there's a stand and it has lights. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna fill the salt shaker. And then I thought that was a really lame ending to the video of filling the salt shaker with salt and not using it. So here's the behind the scenes. I fill the salt shaker, I'm recording, and then I go, well, I should salt something. And I open my fridge, and if you know anything about me, there is nothing in my fridge. It is a bottle of ketchup, for some reason, one random lemon, a bunch of Soylent, absolutely nothing in my fridge. I just don't keep food in my house. So the one thing in my fridge is I had 3-day-old Little Caesars that I was about to throw out.
No.
So I thought, well, if I throw the Little Caesars in the microwave for like 20 seconds, it will look fresh again. That is like the power of Little Caesars pizza.
It looked fresh. I'll give him that.
So I warmed up the Little Caesars and then I salted the pizza because I'm like, I'm not going to eat this, but I need to salt something. And then I also thought, oh, I think people are going to freak out that I'm salting a pizza. And that's what I did. And then as soon as the video was over, I threw the salted slice of pizza back in the box. And then I walked it out to the trash because I was like cleaning my house yesterday. And man, putting salt on pizza really made people upset.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't eat it.
Okay.
I'm so curious about what it would have tasted like, though.
Terrible. I'm sure it would have tasted terrible.
Not necessarily. Okay. Plenty of the things you put on pizza are salty.
Okay, but also 3-day-old Little Caesars pizza.
I don't like pizza to
maybe
begin
if
with.
it was like, maybe if it was like fresher pizza, I would have tried it.
Okay. Let me give you the point of view from a viewer who saw this yesterday. So I was going to GameStop to pick up some Pokemon cards, as you do, because it was the end of June, end of the month. I didn't use my $5 discount yet. Anyways, I get to GameStop and I park my car. I open my phone, and before I get out, I'm like, well, let me check Instagram real quick. I don't know why, because Meta has created us
chokehold on you.
Yeah, it's a complete hold. So I open Instagram, and the first thing that pops up is Steve's video, and I'm like, great, another one of these videos. Love them. Let's see what he got. I see that it's an Ackley thing. I'm like, what is this? It's a salt shaker. I was like, that makes complete sense. This is wonderful. I want this item. This is great. All good. Then I see the pizza, and I think, is he about to put salt on a pizza? What is he doing? And so he put salt on the pizza. And I was like, okay, this must be like a Minnesota thing or something, or a Wisconsin. I don't know. Like, I don't know where this thought of putting salt on a pizza comes from. Extra salt on a pizza. So I immediately hit to the comments, right? Because I was about to be like,
oh, it's one of those videos where you're like, I need to go to the comments.
Well, I was just curious. I wasn't going to be like, this is gross. I was just curious, like, what did that taste like? Like, what? But then I started scrolling through the comments, and there were so many people that were just like, salt on pizza, really? That I thought, he doesn't need another comment from someone.
That's fine. You can interact with it.
Pizza.
It's not.
It was a shock to see that.
I bet like sea salt on pizza. I bet there's like some company out there that does like a sea salt pizza, and I bet it slaps. I bet it's super good.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't like pizza, but a lot of the things that people put on pizza are salty. I don't like pizza. I don't like the texture of the cheese.
Great.
Never have. Not in my life have I ever liked pizza.
Yeah. I mean, the guy who just salted his pizza cannot criticize someone else for not liking
I didn't eat the salt. I didn't eat the salt. It was the only food item I had.
I'm very curious now. But you put pepperoni is salty, right? When you
Yes, which is why the extra salt was like, that's too much salt, because you already have the saltiness of the pepperoni. So
I would also assume that like Little Caesars pizza is probably more salty.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Like you also put a lot of salt on there. You put a lot of salt on it.
Yeah, because
if you're watching this podcast or listening to it, like, make sure to watch this video at some point after this podcast.
That's because I knew I was going to throw it out.
It's a lot of salt.
Also, like, corporate greed hasn't hit salt yet, so I think like a huge thing of salt is still like $1.19.
So what? The pepperonis, they're like little boats, and you just like filled one, I feel like, with salt.
When I was initially salting it, I wasn't sure if it was going to get picked up by the camera. I wasn't sure if you'd be able to like see the detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, you saw the detail.
And this is how content is made.
Yeah, so there you go. There's a behind the scenes of the salt pizza.
I'm glad you didn't eat it. Like I
wish you had.
I wouldn't be here. I'd be in the hospital for eating 3-day-old Little Caesars. I should have tagged Little Caesars.
This is the thing.
I will say though, warming the Little Caesars up made it look fresh.
Yes, it did. It looked.
But
I didn't think it was Little Caesars, to be honest. I like because you had it on the you maybe you had it on a plate that was like a paper plate, right?
It was a Pikachu plate.
Oh, was it a Pikachu plate? Whatever it was, it made it look like I thought you had like I don't know taken it home from somewhere, like you had just gotten home with it and then salted it, which is why I assumed you ate it afterwards. And I was so curious as to what.
Just went out to get a fresh single slice of pizza to come back and put salt on it.
Hey, I don't know how long these videos take to set up.
If we make it to 1,100 patrons, I will resalt a future pizza and try it.
We should do that.
A Patreon exclusive. Happy Pride. Okay. We're gonna start off with Pokemon Go stuff. There really is no Pokemon Sleep news. Sorry to disappoint. It's just that growth week is going to start by the time this podcast goes up. I want to talk about elite raids because well, first off, did you guys do any elite raids?
I did not. I was at Pride.
Nice.
I did because so one, there was the research, right? And then there was also like a code for research. So
Yes.
I saw the code go up for research and it said like, oh, you can get a meteorite. And I was like, oh, cool. Like I've already used the 2 I have on Rayquazas. I'm good. Like I don't need another Mega Rayquaza. But I was like, why not? Like look at a free meteorite. And then the research was like, do an elite raid. I was like, wait a second.
They really wanted people to do
was
these
you could
ones.
get a meteorite without that. Like without
Not me doing 3 elite raids and then forgetting to like redeem the research.
No.
But yeah, so I did one and it was sort of just a last minute. There happens to be a gym down the street from my house and it's very popular. Like it's just the middle of one of the neighborhoods. The neighborhood I live in is a very popular neighborhood for this area of San Diego for playing Pokemon Go. So the gym down the street typically has an elite raid and it was at like the 5 o'clock one. And I totally forgot that elite raids were even happening. And then I opened Slack and someone was like, oh, I just did an elite raid. It was great. And I looked at my phone. I was like, I've got 7 minutes. I'll run down there and do that. So I did do one and I got the researches completed, but
Nice.
Yeah.
Mostly just because you live very close to a popular elite raid location.
I mean, I knew that I would be able to show up and there'd be 20 people.
Yeah.
And like, it's just like, it's like that. So very lucky in the sense of where I happen to live that makes it so easy to do that. I still think they're awful, but
Oh man. I mean, I've been saying this for 6 years that I loved EX raids that eventually turned into elite raids. Because I just like love showing up at a set time and then knowing it'll get done.
Have you
leave.
ever gone to an elite raid where there weren't enough people?
Yes.
No.
And Steve, I think that's maybe part of the difference.
No, I know that probably exists.
It does. It definitely does.
Right. So like if you live in like Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, like I'm sure the one Culver's you have in your entire city might be an elite raid, and then that's it, right? And then you don't even know if like people are going to show up to that. But like I've done elite raids in like Chicago, in Milwaukee, here in Minneapolis, and so like I just named 3 huge cities in the United States, right? Like,
yeah. And in the place where I live, that's a small city, there are a bunch of different locations for elite raids. And if you coordinate, you can absolutely get enough people to do the raids and maybe even kind of get a train going. But if you go to the wrong one, when everybody else is at a different one, then you're out of luck.
I think elite raids teach people the importance of time management. It's like the thing that you don't want to be late to.
I think plenty of things in life teach people the importance of time management.
I think so. To that point, I will say again, it's very dependent on where you live because for the Enamorous raids, which were horribly sad. I get it. It was Valentine's Day. Blah
nope,
blah blah.
Loved
great.
it. Loved it. Loved
But-
it. Don't try to play up that Valentine's Day is an important holiday. It's not. It was
Valentine's
made by
Day is one of my
Hallmark.
favorite holidays. It is one of my favorite holidays.
It can be a very
So-
good holiday.
You can have a nice dinner with your significant other or friends, and any day. It doesn't
You
have
can do
to
that
be
with
Valentine's.
any holiday.
Yeah, but it's
you don't have to
good
do the
to
holiday
have-
on the day of the holiday.
Yes. It's also good to have a day where you're encouraged to do things nice for people you care about, including yourself.
Yes, because too
But-
often we forget that. And so it's nice to have a reminder, honestly.
Just in the pocket of big Hallmark.
Usually I'm the only one defending Valentine's Day. I like this.
No, it's great. Valentine's Day is a great holiday. I'm sorry. Like, again, you don't have to celebrate it even on Valentine's Day, but it's that reminder of like a thing that I think a lot of people forget. This is not a topic I thought we were going to be going over this podcast. But back to Enamorous. I was ready to get to Enamorous at 5 p.m. because I get that same place has had the Elite Raid, and I knew if I got there at 5, easy 20 people, especially because it was a new legendary. But I ended up having like a work thing that ended up just going over, right? So I was like wanting to leave, but I was in the middle of a meeting. I couldn't just get up and leave. So I ended up getting to that raid at like 5:45. So I was like, well, I'm still going to go over there and just hope. And there were still like 3 more lobbies of people that showed up in that time, 15 minutes before it ended. Because again, just location, like it just happens to be a very popular area for playing Pokemon Go.
Wow.
And so if you have the location, the
But
time
that-
management isn't even
But
really
to
a
be
thing.
fair, to give a little bit pushback, that is just Pokemon Go in general.
Yep.
Like if it wasn't an Elite Raid, it would be like a community day. If it wasn't an Elite Raid, it would be like some sort of event, because Pokemon Go revolves around
Being
like
in the right
hot
place at the right
areas.
time.
Yeah. Like some park, like you would think that downtown Minneapolis would be a good place to play Pokemon Go, because there's like Gold Medal Park, there's the Stone Arch Bridge, across the bridge there's like a bunch of restaurants, and Pokemon Go players just don't go there. Like every time I've done community day there, which is like 3 times, like it's been nice because it's like a beautiful area. It's like really great. There's a bunch of restaurants, but like the Pokemon Go players don't go there, so you don't see things like lured up when you jump into a gym. Like you don't see other people during those events.
Okay, but there's a difference between making the experience a little bit better. Like if you have a community day and you're in an area that's not populated, you can still play that community day. It might not
Yeah,
be lured up, it may not, but if you have, you can
Kinda.
still play it. You can still, there's
Kinda.
still going to be
Have you ever
spawns.
tried to play Community Day in a place where there aren't very many spawns?
Yes, I tried to play community day in a theater one time when my wife was having a concert, a chorus concert, and it did not work very well because I wasn't
Bobby's
moving
in the audience.
There were very
catching,
few.
catching mudkips.
No, I was not. I don't mean I was in the theater playing. I mean, before walking in, I was checking spawns. After we walked out, I was checking spawns. I was present that entire concert. I have 2 kids. I had to make sure that they were not popping off like during the concert. Anyways, but you can still play those. You can't do a Mega Rayquaza raid alone. Like it's not possible. It's impossible to beat a Mega Rayquaza alone. So like there's a difference between not being able to actually do the thing at all versus just having like a worse experience of that, but still being able to do the event. And that's the main difference between something like a community day and an Elite Raid or a
like
raid,
a
the raids
raid
in
event.
general.
Or like what's the other event where you spin the Pokestops and get the tasks?
Research Day?
Research day?
Yeah, like research days. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't disagree, but going back to like the time management stuff, I don't know if people remember this. I remember this very vividly, and it's why I think like I like Elite Raids so much, or like EX Raids, whatever you want to call them, is because back before COVID, you would like see you would either be using Discord or Facebook, and they would be like, oh my god, they're West Dallas raids, we're gonna be doing Giratina, it's popping at this location at 4:00, and then we're gonna do like 3 more Giratinas after. So you'd like quickly get in your car, you drive there, you'd park. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be late. Like, traffic's so bad. You get there at like 4:04, and you're like, oh, thank goodness they haven't started. And you're like, great. And you're like ready to start. And what happened every single time was somebody in the group would be like, Janie is only 5 minutes away. Can we just wait for Janie? And like, yeah, everyone's like, yeah, that's fine. And then it's not 5 minutes, it's like 10 minutes. And then in that time, somebody else is like, hey, I got 3 more people on the way. Can we just wait till they get there? And that is like what happened. And so you would drive all the way to West Dallas, which you don't want to be doing anyways, and you would sit there for like 30 minutes.
To be fair, you were also late.
You're right. I was.
I would argue this exact same thing happens with Elite Raids. I have had this experience with Elite Raids.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, never had this with Elite Raids.
To Steve's point, there is like an end.
Yeah, there is an end, which means that it can't go on for as long, but when the Regieleki Elite Raids were going on, I absolutely had this happen. We had to wait for 2 people, because a lot of people were in cars, but some people were on bikes, and so when we were going from one raid to another, we had to wait, and then they were saying more people would show up. Same thing. This still happens. It's not gone.
And it's not great.
It's just how this game works.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a way to fix that part of it.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but I think the difference between that and now is Campfire. And I can't believe I'm coming on the show and saying that Campfire is good, but it worked so well yesterday. I'm like blown away. And I think I think when you see like the Sulph Road talking about how like Niantic doesn't cater to hardcore players, or like who's using these features, or like you see this on Twitter, I think you just don't. I think those people are just wrong. I think they're just not willing to admit that Campfire is successful, because the things that you see over and over, and this is not the first time I've used Campfire, obviously, but I think you see this like discussion of like, my local community is dead, or like, bring back $1 remote raids. Like, no one's going out and raiding. And it's just not true. Like, I logged into Campfire right at 4:00, and I like moved the map up to Centennial Lakes, which is where I normally play, and there was no elite raids. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And you might be saying, like, Steve, why don't you go to Mall America? Mall America doesn't have elite raids. I don't know why, even though like 2 of those gyms are EX gyms. They like still say EX gyms. They just don't turn into elite raids. They never have. Out of how many elite raids have we had so far? Like quite a bit, like 6 or 7.
6 or 7, I think, yeah.
And so when I opened the app, I got a little notification from like a community ambassador, because I guess I joined something, and it said, we're doing elite raids at 5:00. And so I was like, well, there's none at Centennial Lakes, so I guess I'll just look at this notification. And they were like, we're starting here. It showed on the map, and they're like, we're gonna walk this way. And there were 5 elite raids in like a little walking path that I could see, and they all said they popped at 5:01 p.m. And then it said like, when you get here, make sure to check in and you'll get a reward. And I was like, dang, that's so cool. And then it showed that like 118 people RSVP'd. And I don't think Lake Nokomis is a very good place to play, because it's a giant lake. And once you start your walk around it, you have to either commit or backtrack. Like, that's it. Like, and like, there are a lot of gyms around it. It takes about 45, if you're walking, if you're walking the speed of Pride Month, it takes you about 45 minutes. Maybe like a normal person takes like an hour or so. But
wait, hold on.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Bobby.
So like, I never do community day at Lake Nokomis, but like I know people play there. So I was like, I don't think I can make the 5:00. So I just like move the map over, and I see that there's another park super tiny, like right next to Lake Nokomis, and it says it has 3 EX raids at 6 o'clock. And I was like, I've never been to this area. I've never been to this park. Is this map even right? And there was also a little community ambassador thing that said, like, if you check in, you'll get a reward. And so I clicked on it and it said 79 people RSVP'd. And I was like, that's crazy. Because the people from Nokomis can't get to this other park fast enough, especially if they're doing like a raid train. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do the 6 o'clock. I'm going to trust that 3 elite raids are going to pop. If only one pops, that's fine. I just want to do a Rayquaza. It's gorgeous out yesterday. Niantic was like, oh, Steve, good weather. We're gonna we need a W here. Good weather. Campfire is working. So so I head over there, and I'm driving there, and I have to drive past Nokomis to get to this other park. And while I'm driving, there's just this huge line of people, like 60 people, and they're walking towards the next elite raid. And I'm like sitting in traffic, and I'm thinking, do I hand my phone over to my passenger and be like, hey, let's jump at this raid, we're stuck in traffic? And I was like, no, it's fine. Because it's like 5:45. Mm-hmm. So it's like the raids have like 5 minutes left or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no. We're like 8 minutes away. We'll be there like 10 minutes early. It's fine. And then as I'm driving around Lake Nokomis, I just see huge groups of people at what would be gyms, and they're like doing raids. And I was like, there's so many people out right now. And then I get to the park. I don't even know what this park is called. I get to the park. There were 3 elite raids, like 5-minute timers left. Gorgeous park as well. Like just a fantastic. They had a rock climbing wall at this park. I was like, what is happening? You could like climb a rock wall.
Probably installed by Niantic.
And once again, there was like a little check-in thing. So I checked in. It gave me a free raid pass. I was like, oh, that's cool. Just by doing that. And the raids popped, and you could stand in the middle and touch all 3, which is great. That's I didn't talk to anyone, did all 3. Which was also great. The community ambassador guy, like right before the raid started, he was like, we're doing a group picture. Come over here. And I was like, not for me, man. But that's like, cool. You're doing a group picture. But while I was in the first raid, I started counting people. And I counted over 100 adults. And that was no kid. There were plenty of iPad kids running up and down slides, like doing jumps off rocks, being like, I got a Rayquaza. There was one kid on top of the rock wall being like, shiny, with his like holding up his like iPad.
Yeah,
best. That's amazing.
I just think that this like perception of my local community is dead is just wrong. I think it's just people not accepting that Campfire is working. And the other thing I'll say is I took note because I did 3 raids. In all of these raids, 15 out of 20 people were under level 40. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of 34s, a lot of 36s, like the 38. Mm-hmm. I only saw one other level 50 in the 3 raids I did. Now, again, there was over 100 people, so maybe the level 50s coordinated or something. I doubt it. But like, I think Campfire is great. I don't think this is like me defending elite raids, but it was so easy for me to open up Campfire, scroll around the map, see this is at 5, this is at 6, this one was at 3, go there, and no people were going to show up because it said 79 people RSVP. And when I got there, there was more than, including kids, there were more than 150 people at this park that I've never seen, like, never heard of. Like, you wouldn't play community day there. There was 3 gyms and 4 Pokestops. It's not like a community day park, but it was still like a really gorgeous park. And then there was like a showcase there. The average person, I think, where it was that. I think there's this perception on the Sylph Road or on Twitter that the average Pokemon Go player is level 48. And they're doing 3 remote raids a day, and they would be doing more if there was not a cap. Like, yeah. That is the minority of players.
That is always how that goes, though. Those bubbles, the Twitter threads, the bubbles of people who are like on there to primarily to talk Pokemon end up thinking that like, yeah, most of the people who play the game or whatever are like us, and then it turns out no, there's a lot of people who don't like use social media, just play the game casually or whatever, that aren't like that. Because even in this area that I was talking about, that is very populated or very popular for Pokemon Go playing, when I was in that elite raid yesterday, yeah, there were a lot of people under level 40 that were in the lobby. There were, and the other times I've done elite raids at that same gym, there are still a lot of people under level 40. And so, I understand that as well. I have a different opinion on elite raids than you do. I don't know. And Campfire as well. I don't even have the Campfire app downloaded.
Oh, well, I was going to say, Steve, I think this was a particularly good Campfire experience. I don't know if that's the average Campfire experience. I do think it's gotten better. I think that their investment in community leaders has helped a lot. Mm-hmm. But also, I don't live close enough to one of those to have that opportunity. There's not a community ambassador in my city. And so
there's multiple community ambassadors in my city. There's one at Mall America. There's one at Nokomis. There's one at whatever park I went to. There's more. Obviously, it's just, I haven't experienced them all.
Sounds like an opportunity, Hannah.
It does. Yep.
Here's a hot take, because the listeners knowing that I've worked with Niantic, I've been in meetings with Niantic. Niantic has paid for me to go to like Korea. They've paid for me to go to like Seattle Go Fest, right? I think Niantic shifting from content creators to finding community ambassadors was the correct play. And I'm sure other content creators like hate this or like would hate to hear this, but they know that like the Kestrel, the person who was in charge of the content creators, got moved, whether they wanted to or not. I think they did want to be in charge of community ambassadors. And I think Niantic building up community ambassador programs to then have the experience that I had yesterday was the correct play. Because honestly, there's nothing in it for content creators. They're like, I will get to this after the break, but I ran a TCG league at one point, and it was a nightmare. It was so much work for what it was worth. And I would assume the same for community ambassadors. Like, they have to organize. They have to make sure everyone's playing. Like somebody had to then like set up the RSVP, like get the like communicate with everyone, make sure everyone understands and be on time. Like, a lot of content creators just don't have that time to do that kind of stuff.
Nor do they have the like. This is like an ambassador's, job, more or less, right? A content creator, if people don't show up or whatever, they're not like, okay,
focused on other things.
Move on.
Yeah.
They're focused on, their focus is not the same thing as one of these like community ambassadors, even if they are sort of an ambassador for the community in a way. Yeah. But it's different in that their focus isn't solely on that, where this is more the job at hand.
Yeah. I mean, back before the community ambassador program was a thing, back when I was in college, I ran a Pokemon Go club for 3 out of my 4 years of college. It was great. It had current students, alumni, faculty, and staff, and I still love saying that because Pokemon Go brought so many different people together. And having a community like that has always been one of the most enjoyable parts of this game to me, so I am not surprised at all that the community ambassador program is bringing people together in this way that is really feeling good and seeming successful. Mm-hmm. But also, it is a ton of work, not only to run a community, but to also just get to the point of being a community ambassador. There's someone in our Slack who worked on it for, I think, over a year to become a community ambassador. It takes a long time to get that up and going. And so these people have put a lot of work into this and just continue to, because it feels so good to be in communities like that. I don't know. So yeah, I'm not surprised this is working, and I'm happy it is. I just wish there were more, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's a bummer there's not one in your city. I will say, like, when we were doing, it was Sinnoh Tour, I was out with my son, we were just like taking pictures of Pokemon and stuff, and like we were doing some raids in one of the areas, maybe like 15 minute drive from my house, and we're taking pictures and stuff, and I turn around and like Steve was saying, there's just this giant line of people, and they're all walking the same direction. And then I look at the app and I notice like, oh, well, there are like 4 or 5 gyms along this, and there was the Origin Dialga raids and the Origin Palkia raids. And then I saw a lead person who was kind of doing all the leading and kind of yelling out like, hey, stop, we're gonna do this one now, we're gonna do that. It had to have been, like you were saying, there had to have been like 80 or 100 people, and they were just all in line. And then that's when I realized, pretty quickly, I was like, oh, this must be like one of the community ambassadors. And then I looked on the app and everything, and it was like, oh, you can check in and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But it was awesome to see that, because I hadn't seen that in a long time. I hadn't seen that level of that amount of people together, other than when we were all hanging out for Sinnoh Tour week before LA. But like it was like a global event, but just seeing that many people all doing raids together and stuff, I hadn't seen that since before the pandemic started. And so we kind of joined up. We did a couple raids with people, with the groups that were there doing that, because we were also doing raids, and it was just fun to be in the atmosphere of like all the people playing together, all the people like talking Pokemon and having their different conversations and things like that. Was a fun experience. So I agree that it was definitely a right move. Like, I think the community ambassadors are huge, because there are so many people that play the game that are not on Twitter or are watching YouTube and know who these content creators are or doing these things. But when you have a way to connect with the community, even if it's not like directly through the Pokemon Go app, which that's a whole different conversation, but at least they do have that Campfire. At least they do have an app that does allow people to connect with the community, because for a long time they didn't. Right? You had to go to Discord, you had to go to Facebook, you had to go to Slack, and we made that work in a lot of ways. But having Niantic actually have control of that in ways, and hire, getting people that are for that is, I think,
I'm not sure
better.
I would word it as having Niantic having control of it is a good thing, but I will say that having one place that they can just say, go here and you can organize, is helpful.
Not saying Niantic, but like Niantic is the one getting these community ambassadors out there. They're the ones that are like saying, hey, there's this community ambassador program. Let's focus in on that so that people are out there. I mean, those community ambassadors are then kind of controlling that situation, that area and that situation. That's great. But I just mean to have an app that is the company put together to actually have you join communities in the game that the company makes, I think is a move that people wanted for a long time. And even though I don't have the app downloaded right now.
And to be clear, if you live in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, with just a Culver's and that's it, yes, your Pokemon Go experience is not going to be any better. Like I understand that.
It could possibly be a little bit better now that you may know that other people are also playing the game. I mean, it just goes back to like, you might not have to use a third-party app like Discord or something like that. If all you do is play Pokemon Go, or when it comes to that, if you just play Pokemon Go but you don't know Discord or you don't know Slack or these third-party apps to get together, it's good to have a way to connect with the community if that's just all you're doing with that, and there hasn't been that for years, and now there is, and it could make those experiences better. You may not have known that there was even 3 or 4 other people who play the game. And I don't know how I'm defending Campfire now when I just talked about how
you don't even have it installed. No,
sounds like you need to reinstall it.
I have to reinstall it, I guess, now that I defend
COVID. Like, Niantic didn't kill like local communities, right? Like COVID did. Like, people didn't want to go back outside. People either stopped playing the game. People got used to just spending dollar after dollar after dollar to remote into raids, and then they didn't like that the price was raised and then the limit was on. But like, there's a huge difference between Campfire and Discord or Facebook Messenger, which was like a lot of things, because like, that is just like a text-based communication, right? Like, we're going to be doing raids here, or show up at this time. Whereas, like, I didn't have to talk to anyone on Campfire. I didn't have to coordinate anything. I opened up a map and I scrolled, and you could just like, there's like tags. You can just search for raids. You can just search for Pokestops. You can just search for like I think it's called meetups, which is like what the community ambassadors do. So I just turned on the meetup thing and I saw like 7 of them. And then I clicked on the Lake Nokomis one, and that one said it started at 5. And then the one like right next to it said it started at 6. And I was like, perfect. That's how I figured it out. And I saw that 70 some people were going to it. And I saw it started at 6. And then I turned back on raids and I saw there were 3 raids. Like, it was to say like my community is dead. My local community is dead. I'm on Discord. I believe it. 100% believe it. I don't think you're lying. But like, and maybe in Campfire it also like no one is doing it because it completely gave up. But I don't think like Pokemon, to see 150 people at this very small park that is like not like a huge park, not like a Mall of America, was just like kind of crazy. Like you have to like it's not like sitting at home like signing into like Destiny because like that's easy. You have to like actively go out and do that. That's a lot for a game to be like, okay, at 6 o'clock, I'm going to pack up the kids. We're going to charge the iPads. We're going to go out. We're going to spend 30 minutes. Like, that is a big ask for a player in a game versus like, I'm just going to sit on my couch and turn something on, which there's nothing wrong with that, to be fair. It's just the
different.
barrier to entry is so much lower.
Out of curiosity, you say you opened the app and you didn't have to do anything. You just knew it was going on. Were you one of those people who marked yourself as going to this?
Yeah, I hit the little RSVP. I hit the RSVP on both because I wasn't sure what it did.
Well, I also wonder how many people, like how
right,
many.
like
I know
when,
that
when,
you said,
when I saw that the 6 o'clock had like 70 some people RSVP, I expected like 30 people. Like I was like, best case scenario, 30 of these 60 people show up.
Sure,
and that's why I counted, because I was like, oh, there's way more than 70 people here. There's like 70 kids here. There's a lot of iPads running around this park right now.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, one person checking in doesn't mean only one person is showing up, right? Like if there are kids, good chance that the kids maybe aren't on the Campfire app, so like that parent is like, oh, I'm checking in and I have a kid with me, or and so that 79 easily turns into 120, 130, depending on like how many people are in that party and who's actually using Campfire and who's not, right? So I mean, still shows that like some people can be showing up and they're not using the app.
I would just encourage people that are like, I don't have a community. Is like, my first question would be like, did you check Campfire? And if they did and they don't have a community, I would be like, yeah, that sucks. Like, it does, but like,
yeah, I still genuinely, I do still want this game to support online communities a bit more, and I do think there are ways that they could do that without, while still encouraging people to go outside. I do think online communities are important, but the in-person communities are also important, and because that's what's being supported right now, that's probably where you should check.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Because again, I wholeheartedly believe that your Discord community has died since COVID. Like I do believe that. But if I was to go to a new city and it was like a community day, my best judgment would be to open up. Like if I was in Japan for community day, first off, I bet it would be popping. Yeah. But like, which park is the better park, right? Like I don't know. So I would. And I also don't speak Japanese. So am I supposed to go to like a Japanese Discord to figure that out? Like my best bet would be Campfire, and then turn on like which parks are community ambassador parks. And then I could also just see how many gyms are there, how many Pokestops are there. Like you can do, like, I know that there's a bunch of people listening to this podcast, and I know there's a bunch of people who play Pokemon Go that are introverted. like myself included, I went to that park. I didn't talk to anyone except my partner who came with me. Like I didn't want to talk to anyone, but that doesn't mean I didn't have a good time. Like it was so cool to see all these people have a good time, and like people stick around and like kind of hang out in the park. And I saw people trading and stuff, but like that whole experience I had, didn't have to talk to I didn't have to like type in a Facebook chat or to like type in a Discord to be like, are we still doing this? Count me in. Like I'm also coming with a +1. Like I remember doing that because I did that for Reggie Drago. I was like, hey, I'm coming at 10 o'clock with a +1. And then somebody be like, all right, we're up to 12. Like I didn't have to do any communication. I'm as introverted as they come. And it was a real great experience. And again, if you live in the middle of nowhere, this doesn't apply to you, but also...
Or if you just live somewhere that doesn't have community ambassadors. I live in a city.
Yeah.
It can still be an improvement. Like not knowing who plays Pokemon Go in your community to downloading an app that potentially tells you that even one other person plays Pokemon Go in your community can be beneficial. Living in a small town does not mean that like I said it can be beneficial. I didn't say it will be beneficial.
I said this like 6 months ago. I will say it again. Pokemon Go is no different than a dating app. You live in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. You probably have like the same 3 white guys holding a fish, and you're not getting anyone else. You got to move. You go to the city. There are more options to date. There are also more Pokemon Go players. I'm sorry, Oconomowoc. You kind of suck.
This is salt on pizza all over again. Wow. This town that I can't even pronounce. You really got a problem with this town, Steve.
It's like 40 minutes away from Milwaukee. I had a job that was very close to Oconomowoc.
I see.
And the only thing there was a Culver's. That was it.
Yeah, you big on this Culver's. That is apparently
that's all that was there. We need to take a break.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. And we are back from our break. AI. Let's talk about it again.
Yay.
I closed my Google Doc. So the Pokemon Company actually said something regarding the AI stuff. And it was the best thing they could have said, I think, in my opinion. Here I have the tweet. They tweeted it. Unfortunately, this is why I still have Twitter, because I don't know how else I would have seen this.
Yep.
Because I don't think they put it on their website.
I can tell you I saw it. I saw it on Threads. Someone screenshotted the tweet.
Oh, okay, yeah. Perfect.
So there you go.
Great. This is from the Pokemon TCG account. They actually posted this at 9:40 p.m. on June 24th, which is kind of a weird posting time, I guess.
Yeah, weird time to like. It's like you post at that time when you don't want people to see what you're doing.
Yeah. They said, we are aware that select entrants from the top 300 finalists of the Pokemon TCG Illustration Contest 2024 have violated the official contest rules. As a result, the entrants in violation of the rules have been disqualified from the contest. Perfect. Great. That's what we were all hoping for. Furthermore, additional artists participating in the contest will soon be selected to be among the top 300 finalists, which is what no one expected them to do, is to go back and pick new people.
Yeah.
And then they said, we are committed to upholding the integrity of the Pokemon TCG Illustration Contest. Appreciate fans' continued support as we celebrate the artistic abilities of the talented Pokemon community. Fantastic. I don't... Yeah. Me being excited about this and like applauding the Pokemon Company doesn't doesn't mean I wasn't upset or anyone wasn't annoyed that this got through. Like both can be true at the same time. You can be like annoyed that AI art got through, or multiple, or VK had however many entries got through. Super annoying, super sucks. Hopefully in the future they figure out a way to better handle that. But the way they handled this of being like, hey, we messed up, we're disqualifying those people and we're picking new people was the best possible outcome.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Considering we didn't even think they were going to respond at all. This was amazing.
I'll keep a little skepticism in waiting to see who actually got disqualified.
Yeah, because all of the artists on the 300
there,
website are still there.
Yeah, like let's just. I mean, I think this is great, and yeah. To your point, I was saying last week I didn't think they were going to say anything and just maybe move them out and keep moving on. But so I think this is all really great. I am interested to see what pictures aren't there. And like, I'm sure there will be a website or whatever that will be like, well, here's the pictures that are no longer in the top 300. So we'll know.
Bulbapedia already has it documented.
Oh, do that? Yeah, of course.
So Bulbapedia already has all 300 on their website. So as soon as we see the new ones, we should be able to very easily tell
who
exactly got disqualified.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see how many more than just, because we were, as we were saying, it's not just those 6 images. It's just that those ones were the ones that were being focused on because they broke multiple rules, apparently. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see how many are getting replaced as well. Yeah, I really hope it's not like 150 of them go away. Something like that.
I'm also curious because once the 300 were picked, you were finally able then to show off your art.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't show it off earlier. So I don't think those artists would be like disqualified for being re-entered because they did follow the rules completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it would be, I'm sure like maybe 1 or 2 who have shown their art already would be like, oh my gosh, I got accepted in, which would be very cool. I guess they probably had. It's so hard to guess because it's like, how did these AI art or how did these multiple entries get through? But I would guess that there were some that were like just bubbled out of the 300 that were like, oh, these were. If we had more spots, these would have got picked.
Oh, like runners up for that portion of it. Yeah, maybe.
I'm
to
sure,
your point, I mean, who knows based on what got through if they had stuff waiting in the.
And I'm sure that like they need to have those conversations with people of like, do you want to be in our top 300 kind of thing? Or like, we sent you an email, you didn't respond, you have to respond in order to get accepted kind of thing. So this was like exactly a week ago. It came out like literally Monday night after the podcast went up. So
of course.
I never expect speed with the Pokemon Company.
Yeah.
I don't ever expect them to do anything quickly.
Yeah. Or showing that much, like showing that they made a mistake in that way. It's just not typically something that they do, like that they acknowledge to that extent, I feel like. So that's nice to see that.
Yeah. And them saying we are committed to upholding the integrity of this contest and appreciate the fans' continued support. Just what they're doing here actually shows that, which statements like that aren't always that way. So it's really good to see.
To me, that last sentence also makes it seem like we want to continue doing this.
Yes. I was going to say this will not be the last illustration contest based on that last sentence.
Because they could have easily thrown in the towel and be like, we disqualified them. No new entries. We're going to pick some winners. We're never going to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If they had done that, if they didn't pick new winners or like new entrants, if they were just like, hey, we noticed this and they're gone, it would make me believe more so this could be the last one. But literally that last sentence, it just made me immediately think, they definitely want to keep doing these kinds of things.
I mean, on the list of judges are a lot of the executives of the Pokemon Company and of everybody who runs the TCG. I just having any sort of integrity questioned there, with these having made it through in the first place, I think that may be an element of why they're responding to it.
Yeah, I just don't think 4 executives are looking at 20,000 pieces of art. I think
one would hope they would at least glance through the 300, though. I still really, really want to hope that someone looked through the list of 300 before it was published and somehow just missed all the things.
It's a lot. Like, even when I'm like looking at art on Twitter or wherever, like you kind of just scroll past and you're like, wow, that's good, and then you kind of just keep scrolling. But now I feel like with AI, I have to like stop.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
that's not just with art either. It's with
that's
any
true.
image at this point.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you're like a recruiter, you just like start reading the same sentences in like cover letters or resumes or whatnot, because that has been like a big tool for people to use when trying to apply for jobs.
Yeah, I mean,
so yeah, you're right. Not just art.
That, as far as like recruiters and cover letters and resumes and things like that, that goes beyond that, though. I mean, there's been all kinds of templates and things like that for years that.
Yeah. It also goes both ways. There are plenty of AI things dismissing cover letters and resumes and making it harder to get a job there too. So going both ways there.
Yep.
We find out that Pokemon was using AI to scam the 20,000.
That's a conversation topic I was going to bring up last week, but I didn't feel like going down that path.
Yeah, I think worst case scenario was they don't say anything at all, and then when they do their first rounds of elimination, the AI art or the multiple entrants were gone, but they don't acknowledge it. I think that would have been like worst case scenario.
No, worst case scenario would have been if the AI art won.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess that would be rock bottom.
if VK's Eevee,
where like the arm is like merging with the head,
and then they become a career artist for the TCG. That would have been the worst case scenario.
I want to talk about TCG Live for a second. They celebrated their 1-year anniversary, whatever that means, of an app that doesn't feel like it's fully.
It's been around for a year.
Technically, I guess.
It's been around longer than a year.
I mean, it's definitely. Yeah,
it's definitely software.
I was so excited when I had the thought of being able to finally play TCG online on my phone,
right?
Because that is the thing that is on me for the most part, right, over anything else. And then it was just like that experience. I was like, give me the other one back. I'll go grab my computer to play.
Still waiting for Pocket.
Yes.
So I played a lot of PTCGL, the original one. The one that was made by Direwolf Digital.
PCGO, right?
Oh yeah, sorry, PTCGO. Yeah. Pokemon Trading Card Game Online, the original one. Played a lot. I remember when they added the code cards to the booster packs. I remember that back in the day when you redeemed a code card, you could cash it in for any booster pack you wanted, which was cool. You could get like an Emerging Powers, but like cash it in for like a Noble Victors. I remember the launch of that app, and I played it on and off. And then when I started streaming, which was like 6 years ago, it was one of the games I played because it was really easy to stream. It was already on your computer. You just window capture the screen. It was a great way to just chat with people in between matches and play. And I grew quite a collection. Also, it was really easy to go to eBay and buy 100 code cards for like $20 and then just have them get all redeemed and suck them all in. It was really easy to play. It was also great to like stream. It was fun to open packs. And I've played a lot of games. I play Apex Legends, Clash Royale, whatever Pokemon, whatever, you hit the little button and it does an animation, and then the things pop up and you get like a special card or a gold or a platinum or an ultra, right? Like that animation feels good. Like Overwatch has it, a bunch of games have it. People like opening fancy boxes. It's just a thing.
It's true.
True. TCG Live never looked particularly good. Some aspects of the game look good, but man, the character creator looks terrible. If trying to customize your character, they added a battle pass, which was cool, but you couldn't like you can't give the game money, which has always been weird to me in both Pokemon Trading Card Game Online and TCGL. Is there's just no way to give it any money, which I don't want to go to eBay and spend $30 and then copy and paste the codes. Like, just let me buy the booster packs in the game. I just want to play. I didn't give PTCGL a lot of time. Like, I don't think I've ever played a full match in it ever, because it's just I haven't been into I haven't had that itch recently to play TCG. Also, every time I look at the character, I'm just like, this is terrible. Also, I have a stack of cards that I just don't want to scan in and redeem. It's just such a hassle to scan in a QR code and redeem it. If I could get like a grocery barcode scanner and beep, 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 that would be tight. But
they took away the, you used to be able to hold the code card up in front of your camera. And so it would just scan it, right? And then
it would list all the things.
Scan, and then you just hit, whatever, and it redeemed 10 of them. And you scan. And they took that away.
You have to do it on your phone now.
Yeah. Can you it's been a long time since I've like actually tried to use the app. Can you actually do it on your phone? Because before you had to actually type it in.
No, you can. I did this. I did this for like 20. Here's the actual thing. This is now Pocket makes way more sense. In TCGO, it was very fun to open a booster pack. It had a good Overwatch opening animation. In Pocket, it is miserable.
In TCG Live, you mean?
Oh yeah, sorry. In TCG Live, there's so many TCG apps. I'm sorry. In TCG Live, it's miserable. I used my iPhone. I scanned them all in. The app was open on the computer, and then nothing happened. And my Twitch chat was like, you have to either do a match or for the packs to like pop up, or you have to close the app and reopen it. And I was like, I ain't doing no match. Closed the app. I reopened it. And you can open like one booster pack at a time, but it's not nearly as cool as it was in PTCGO. It's so slow. And there's an open all. And if you click that, it just gives you a list of all the cards in like the 20 booster packs you opened. It is so sterile and straightforward. But I get it because they just want you to do matches. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And I think the sterileness of it is purposeful because they knew that a card collecting app was coming. And that app will have the fun, open the booster pack animation and collect. There is no trading in PTCGL. There is no great opening animation. You can't, once you get 4 of a card, any future card gets just turned into dust. You can use that dust to buy cards you're missing to build a deck. It is a very sterile version of Pokemon Trading Card Game Online, which I don't think is good unless they, and I'm sure they do, they understand that we have an audience that doesn't care about collecting, that doesn't care about trading. They just want to use this game to practice. And then we have an audience that does care about collecting and trading, and they want that fancy Clash Royale box opening animation. And when they were in an app, it wasn't working. So we're separating them out to be 2 different apps.
I agree with that. I mean, I agree.
It seems like a really weird line to draw, but
well, because the cards, at least from what they've shown so far, the cards in Pocket aren't actual cards. Like they're not the same as the physical cards. Whereas, obviously, the cards in TCG Live are the same as like the physical cards.
Mm-hmm.
So to that point, you're dealing with different cards. It's not like people who enjoy the physical cards want like a digital version of that. That will be different with Pocket. That's not going to be 1-to-1 in the way that it is with TCG Live.
So you're going to have TCG cards and you're going to have Pocket cards.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun to talk about the distinction between.
But I think people in Live care about their cards. I mean, they care about the cards in the sense of like, I have these cards to build a deck.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not like in Pokemon Trading Card Game online, there was like a collection area where you could see if you completed a collection. There was also a trading area where you could trade, like, I got a full art Cynthia, but most of the trades were, I'm not looking for a specific card. I'm looking for like booster packs ended up being the valuable currency. Unopened booster packs were tradable in online.
Yep.
So you'd be like, oh, I really need this card, so I'm going to trade booster packs, or I have extras of a really good card, so I'm going to also trade those for booster packs. It was, and obviously the in doing so, the currency of that game was so weighted on how good or not good a booster pack was that it was really weird. So they cut trading out altogether in Live, and there's a limit on how many packs you can scan. So I think you can only scan like 300 or 400 booster packs, and then it caps out completely because whatever reason.
You don't need to have unopened booster packs anymore in TCG Live.
Right. I don't think that like these code cards that come in the physical booster packs, I don't think they're going to work for Pocket. No. I think Pocket is like, oh, you want more than your 2 free booster packs a day? You can give us money.
Yeah. They've openly said there's going to be microtransactions in Pocket, right?
Yes.
Or
at least they have said it's free to start, free to play. One of those things
is the hidden is the motto for pay us money.
Yeah.
So I guess the realization after all this after the last year of like, why is TCG Live so bad? I think it's now making sense.
I don't know if I would go so far as to say it was intentionally made bad.
No, but like
but I think this may have been one way they are saving things, that there was a opening for a game that people would enjoy that is kind of comparable to, say, very popular games like Marvel's Snap and things like that, where they could reintroduce the elements that the newer TCG app was published without. That maybe they didn't think those were not needed somehow.
Yes, I can't imagine that like Pocket and Live weren't being developed around the same time, right? Like I don't think Pocket is Live is bad, we need a solution. I think it was
not necessarily.
No, but they saw games. I think there's something to be said for those games that are like Marvel Snap.
Totally
popular, and they are able to do something similar to that. Like I don't know that they developed Pokemon. I don't feel like they developed PCTGL, whatever that is, Live. I don't think they developed Live with the intention of, we're going to take all this stuff out and put it into another app. Like, I don't think that development, like those meetings weren't happening like that, where they were saying, okay, well, let's remove all of this stuff. And now I think that what they were doing was saying, hey, people that play the online game, like, what do they want, right? They want to get their packs open so that they can, especially because you don't need unopened booster packs anymore. So they want to get their packs open so they see what cards they have. They want to be able to trade those cards in for the currency to get the cards they actually need, and they want to play the game. I do think that is a majority of the people that play the online game do want it to actually play the online game more than digitally collect the cards. I think being able to collect them and have that collection part as well was really cool in PCTGO. And I think that people did I think I said that correctly. And people did take advantage of that. But I think that they know a majority of the people playing really just wanted to get down to being able to play the game. And so they took things out that were kind of unnecessary in that way to get people to allow them to play the game quicker. Because again, you're not giving them any money. There's no way to give live money. So it's not like they were like, we need people playing more and more and more so that there's any money making here. It's just people want to play the game, and they're getting them to playing the game quicker. And then alternatively, you do have a group of people who want to do more collecting, but you also have a style of game where it's like a card game, but it's a little bit more simplistic, right? And that's what this is supposed to be.
Yeah, we don't know fully what that looks like.
Right. But it seems like it based on the way the cards looked and how the matches were going to be quicker and things like that. It just seems like there's going to be a bit more of a simplistic way to play the game. And people like that too. So I think it just works out well. But I don't think that they I don't think they were like making live and they're like, oh, we have this whole collection part. And someone's like, no, take that out. That's going to go into a separate app. Like, I don't think that's how the meetings went.
I don't know. Like, I feel like it's real. I feel like there's part of me that's like, it's real intentional that opening a booster pack in live is not the same experience as online.
I think that's intentional as well, but I think it's because they know a majority of their players just want to get to playing the game. Honestly, I think there is a group of people, me being one of them. I really enjoyed the like pack opening stuff when it came to online. That's actually what first got me into playing online, was more of the collection aspect of being like, oh, I can digitally collect cards and things like that. Was actually what got me playing it a little bit more. And then I started actually playing the game more once I had the app open more often. But I do think they know that a majority of their player base wants to just play the game, and this allows them to get to that faster.
You keep saying that, but isn't that part of the app bad too?
Playing the game? Oh, I'm not saying the app's good. I think this is why I'm not playing it.
The most popular deck
awful
in the format right now is broken in TCG Live.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of the bad things are intentional. I think the app is just bad.
The app is just bad, but I think that some of the things like making the pack opening, because in the pack opening, you also don't see all the cards in a pack.
Yeah,
right?
I opened some packs. That's the only thing I use that app to do.
Yeah.
I think it's just bad. I don't think making it bad was intentional. I think it's just bad.
You can't even look at your collection, though.
It takes a lot of work. You can, I think, because I've gone in to make sure I redeemed things correctly.
You can look at your collection only, from my understanding, only if you're building a deck.
Yeah.
Right. So that's to my point. I think that the app is bad, but I think parts of it were taken out to get people to the game playing experience quicker. And maybe that made it worse in itself, but I do think that there were certain things taken out for the purpose of getting people to playing games quicker.
This is my assumption. My assumption is that they saw the success of Marvel Snap or Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links or the hundreds of similar apps like WWE Superstar Card Collector or whatever. That was I played that thing. That
was around a while ago.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That
I remember that.
There's a lot of these apps, and I think they saw that and they were like, we want to do this for Pokemon cards. It makes complete sense. It's like an easy thing. Like WWE is doing it, Yu-Gi-Oh is doing it, Marvel is doing it. We can do it too, and we can be better at that. But then you have this problem where TCGO exists, where that would cause some sort of market confusion, right? And so then you possibly you're not happy with your contract with Direwolf Digital, because they were the ones that got screwed over the most from this. And you also consider that TCGO was primarily an American product. It doesn't work in Japan. I think it had like German support, it had Spanish support, but at the end of the day, it was an American company making an American focused, maybe a North America product, if you want to be generous about that. It was not big in the West in the East at all. East being like the Asia countries.
Yeah, got it.
And so you find you do the development in house, and you make a replacement for that because you can't get rid of it completely, but you purposely leave out the things that you're going to put into Pocket. Good animations, microtransactions, a better collection, trading. The common thing you see when people are talking about this is, why are there two apps? There's already market confusion. But that market confusion is probably coming from people who don't play live. Like those people, myself included initially. But once you play live and you log into that terrible app, you go, oh, I understand that these are very different products. But again, if you've never played live, you're like, why are there two card apps?
Like when Pocket comes out, you mean?
Well, right. Well, like right now, people are like, why is the Pocket and Live the same? Like, why do they have two card apps?
Right. But
I think
like
that's
everything Pocket is
being
offering,
confusing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it will still be a bit confusing, but it would be even more confusing if they didn't kill online for
Live.
Live.
I just don't. I don't think it goes like that, because the online game is connected to the physical game. Like there would be no online game if the physical game wasn't first around, right? That the physical game was around, and then they wanted a way for people to be able to play that game when they're not able to go out to their local store or to a tournament or whatever it may be. So they create an online version of that game. Now they can play it from home, right? And but that connection will always be there between online or live or whatever they want to call the terribly made app that they have made. That will always be there. That connection will always be there to the physical game, especially with the fact that the only way to actually get cards, one of the only ways to get cards in the online game, is to buy physical packs or buy the booster codes like online. But this other game, Pocket, I don't think it's going to have any connection to the physical cards, other than the fact that the things you are playing with in the game are cards. But I don't think there's going to be any connection to the physical cards that are out, even as far as like making these cards in the game like immersive and things like that. Like I don't think there's going to be any connection. One day down the line, maybe they do a special set where they're like, oh, this is going to take on the theme of Pocket or something like that down the line. But I just think that there's enough deviation from that it's really going to be two separate games, and I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of confusion once the game is actually out and being played and being viewed and everything.
Which is still really weird to me, because I feel like you would want the collection app that is Pocket to be able to have the same cards, so that you can say, oh, I got this one, it's really pretty, I really like this card, I want a physical real one of it. And then you can't go get that. I don't know.
Yeah. That is also a thing, right? That is definitely a thing with PC with I'm going to stop with online where I would get a card and then think, it's like, oh, that would be really cool to like be able to actually hold that and, look at that card that way.
But going back to live being so bad, they did not have enough time, in my opinion, to make it good. So I do still think that like Pocket and Live were planned at the same time to replace PTCGO, but Live needed to come out as soon as possible because of the tournament structure, because they couldn't have that app go down and have nothing for people to play or practice in. And that's why our models in that game look like they're from like Kid Picks. They look so terrible. Like The Sims 2 has better in-game models than whatever developer decided to like make the hair in. It makes Pokemon Go models look incredible.
Yes.
Like it is crazy how bad your character looks in live. Yeah. So I don't know. This is my big conspiracy theory that like for a long time they planned on separating these apps so they could dominate each market appropriately, the competitive market that just wants to play, and then the collector's market. And they needed to ship out live as soon as possible because their contract with Direwolf Digital was ending. And they needed everyone to transfer their accounts from online to live. And like live is the one thing they openly said they were delaying. It was supposed to come out before BDSP. And then they were like, actually, we're verbally confirming that this is delayed. And then it just kind of showed up in beta. And then now it's like, it's been out for a year. Has it? It's been struggling for like the last like 18 months, I guess, thanks to the Quaxley hat that you can get. I don't think it's like deeply malicious to like break your app into two apps so it's easier for a consumer to be like, I just care about collecting or I just care about battling. I think that's fine and that makes sense.
I don't think it makes it easier, but okay.
But I do think that this was the long plan that they had. And the further along we get, to me, it feels more apparent that like this was their plan all along, was to break these apart, to dominate their respective markets. But we got one bad app because it needed to come out ASAP.
Hopefully just one.
Oh yeah, hopefully. I believe in DNA.
I hope both of these apps aren't like 50% of what they could be if they were just together.
Pocket looks good.
I do want to say for live, it is only available in Australia, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Italy, Mexico, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Sweden, obviously the United States. And then it's available in, I just saw the languages. It was English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish. So no Japanese, no Korean, no traditional Chinese, simplified Chinese.
Does the Japanese game have their own online game over there?
No.
They don't, so they just don't play online at all?
They never had online. They don't have live. They do the Niantic approach. It's not called Campfire, but they really like their in-person experiences over there in Japan.
Oh, got it.
It's very easy to do a local.
Right.
They have Pokemon centers and they have so many opportunities to like play locally that I honestly think you can compare it to Niantic. They don't want to kill their local scene.
Sure.
Also, I don't know if people know this. America is much, much bigger than Japan.
Really? Huh.
Crazy, I know, right?
No clue.
All right, let's take a break. And we are back from our break. June 27th, the 2025 Pokemon Championship Series has been updated. They got new logos. And whoever did these logos went real hard on them. They look great. Everything else, maybe not so great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna really simplify this and go through this pretty quickly. I guess the too long didn't read is they're making it harder for people to qualify for Worlds starting in 2025. That season will start at the end of August, September, because it starts after Worlds. They say the qualification system for the World Championships is changing. A set number of players from each rating zone, age division, and game will earn invitations to the World Championship based on their championship point leader standing. This update applies to the TCG, video game, and Pokemon Go. Nothing about Unite. Most invitations, well, that makes sense because it's like team-based. Most invitations were based on a fixed CP threshold that players needed to accumulate in order to receive an invitation. In addition, players who qualify via championship points, individual top performers at major events will automatically earn invitation to World Championships, Regionals and special champions will also receive an invitation, and the top 4 finishes of each international championships will also earn an invitation. Invites earned through this method will not count against the total invitation slots for a player's rating zone. As a Pokemon Championship Series continues to grow, that's the big issue there, this adjustment will provide a variety of long-term benefits, including balancing player qualifications across all rating zones to foster a diverse competition, ensuring that we are prepared to provide the best competitor experience possible. We look forward to sharing more about point season reward programs, and which will operate similar to the fixed CP thresholds from recent years. So if you're in the US and you're a master rank player, you need 125. Sorry. If you're a Pokemon TCG player in the master rank in the US, they will be inviting 125 masters. For VGC, they're only going to be inviting the top 75 masters for US and Canada. And then for Pokemon Go, master rank would be 75 as well. What does this mean? The easiest way I can explain it is, in order to go to Worlds, you would need a set amount of points. Just for simplicity's sake, because I don't have the points in front of me, let's just say you needed 100 points, and then you would receive a World invitation. And let's say you win a Regionals, that gave you like 25 points. I know these numbers are not right. Don't yell at me in the YouTube. I'm just making it simple for people who don't understand. Let's say you win a IC, an international, maybe that gives you 90 points. Maybe you win something a little bit lower, that gives you 10 points, right? Like, you have to win tournaments in order to get points. Now, if you were top 32, instead of getting 25 points, maybe you got like 10 points. Maybe you came in second at an IC, so instead of getting 90 points, you got 60 points. So ideally, if you performed consistently at all of these events and tournaments, you would then earn enough points to then get your invite to Worlds. And that's all you needed. You just needed enough points. You could go to Worlds, you could participate, you could play. There are some people, obviously, where if you do, I believe, win an IC, not only do you usually have enough points to go to Worlds, but you would also get like a travel voucher as well. And so, like, if you won the championship last year, you would also get a travel voucher and guarantee you into the next World slot. So as long as you got the points, you could go to Worlds. This 2025 is saying you have to be one of the top 125 players. And if you are number 126, you are not going to Worlds. You cannot even if you played your own travel, you do not have a seat to play.
That's sad. I think, well, how many people, I guess we don't know how many people are going to Worlds. Like, Masters Division, TCG, World Championship, 2023, let's say, Yokohama. Do you know how many people were in that?
How many master rank players?
Yeah, just going off this, since we were just talking about it with the so it's capped at 125 now, right? In 2025.
I don't know how many people went. I know for sure it was more than 125.
Right. I guess,
yeah.
Yeah, I guess my point is how many more? Was it double, 250, 300, or was it?
If I was to guess, it was probably closer to 400.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's huge then.
Because
I was wondering, like, how much of a difference does that make to what's currently happening?
Yeah, this is making a big difference.
That's huge.
People are upset.
Yeah.
The people that are upset are competitive people, so this isn't like what we talked about earlier with like hardcore Pokemon Go players being like Niantic's not paying attention. I think they are paying attention to the casual player and the hardcore player, but this is like, you would be vocal about this because you are spending money to go to all these events and getting these points. So the people complaining are the people that this is affecting directly. That's why I tried to simplify it in my explanation earlier, because if you've never gone to a match, you might not know what it takes to get a world invite. Heck, if the last two tournaments weren't even in the United States, one was in London and one was in Japan. So like a lot of US people haven't even had an opportunity to go to a recent world championship and see what that is like. I don't think Hawaii has made that any easier for people. But
I was going to say, it's not made any easier by being in Hawaii. Yeah. Wow.
I have two things. The first is, at one point in 2011 during Black and White, because the Pokemon Trading Card Game and the VGC stuff, and there was no Go, and there was no Tech Pokken Tournament, and there was no Unite, there was just TCG, there was just VGC. There was a last chance qualifier at Worlds. I flew to San Diego in 2011, and I signed up for the last chance qualifier, and they had so many people. This was before everything like exploded. They had so many people at the last chance qualifier that half of the people who registered for TCG got a round one bye because they did not have enough seats for them. There were 800 people, if I remember, that signed up for last chance qualifier. 400 people were told to leave the building. They won their first round and to come back for round two because they did not have enough seats. And it was Swiss. So it means if you lost once, you were out. So they needed just to eliminate 200 people off the bat.
Yep.
And what happens at these tournaments is you set up, for 600 people. And after about 2 rounds, about 300 people are just going to go home. Like if you lose your first 2 rounds, your likelihood of going any further is slim to none.
Right.
And for most cases, like if you lose 3, you're just done. There's no way you can keep going. So you have 600 tables. You're cutting it down to 300. You're cutting it down to 150. But I think the initial problem is Pokemon is so big. And it's only gotten bigger in the last, which is like a good problem to have. It's only gotten bigger. But the scaling of tournaments is really weird. And I don't know how like chess does it or like League of Legends does it or anything else in that sense of scale.
Yeah.
But like you need staff and judges for ultimately 600 some people. And then when you're scaling it down, you don't need that many staff and judges. But ultimately, you have to build a space to accommodate everyone. And then make it smaller and smaller until you get like a top 32 or a top 16.
How many judges are there typically? I've never actually been to an in-person tournament, which wild that they've had like Worlds at San Diego and I did not attend. But how many judges are typically there? How many judges to TCG games are there usually? Like, is it like one judge for 30 games, one judge for 10 games? Like,
gosh, that's a good question. I don't know how many judges are coming through. Also, a small correction. I think like 2 episodes ago, we were talking about stipends. Somebody commented that it wasn't $100 a day. It was $125 stipend for the weekend.
Oh.
Which is not as good as $100 a day.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah, they said at their last tournament they were, I can't remember who that was, but thank you for commenting on YouTube an update to the better than nothing.
Yeah, better than nothing.
For sure.
But still maybe
might not cover food.
Yeah, for the weekend?
Yeah.
I still think they still get a food stipend.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Yeah. But the judging isn't, it's obviously not 1-to-1, 1-to-1 game. but it's got, I mean, because to your point, you have all the judges for 600 people, so let's call it 300 games. But then very quickly, you're down to, 32 games or 16 games. And then you have all those judges, but obviously you don't need them all unless there's a very small amount of judges. So it's like one judge per,
not
50
only
games.
judges, but you need people to set up and tear down tables. You need catering. You need line queue management. Like, one of the problems at Yokohama that I think we talked about on the show is that competitors were waiting all night the night before the tournament started to pick up their badges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe if you just flew across the ocean, you don't want to wait in a line for 4 hours the night before your big tournament when you're already probably tired or I'm sure some people got there a little bit early, but like the point still stands.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a great experience.
No.
I don't think this is great. Don't get anything confused here. I don't think that making it harder for people to qualify for Worlds is at all not good. Just, it sucks. It already, like, as somebody who did competitive, I think maybe some people forget this, or maybe some people are newer to the podcast. I did competitive TCG for 4 years, and every single weekend it would involve driving 2 to 3 hours to a venue, playing all day, not getting a lunch break, like eating a granola bar in the car because you had to get up at like 4 a.m. to get there by like 7, leaving that venue at 7 or 9, driving back. If you did make Top Cut, you're not driving back. You're just there, right? Mm-hmm. If you are not making those drives, you are then getting money for a hotel room, or you're getting money for a flight. Like, it was just so time consuming. Mm-hmm. And let's say you wanted to go to all 3 ICs. You got to fly to Orlando. You got to fly to, I think the new one is in like Brazil, and then the other one is in London. Like, that's expensive to go to 3 ICs.
Yeah, it's not just time consuming. It is expensive to do all of this.
On top of if you're TCG, how much it costs to actually like play the TCG in itself.
Yeah. So you have to practice. You have to pay flights. You have to pay hotels. You have to travel. Like, the days themselves are long. And when you add more players to like a tournament, you could add another day, right? Like, you could say like, well, we only have enough seats for 300 people. We have 600 people register. Let's just have, they actually did this at, before they were called ICs, but when it was in Indiana, they were called flights. You were either in flight A or you were in flight B. And so you would play enough people in flight A until it got it down to about 64 people. And then the top 64 people of flight A and flight B would then get merged together, and then they would start getting eliminated again. Mm-hmm. So you could start doing flights where it's like, all right, your flight Thursday and your flight Friday, and we'll figure out at the end of those 2 days who's going on to Saturday. Mm-hmm. I think that is a good solution to this, but it adds an extra day. And that's an extra day of staff. That's an extra day of hotels for competitors. Mm-hmm. That's an extra day or it's not an extra day. Some people would be mad that like, I have to play on Thursday, so I need to get there on Thursday. You get to play on Friday, so that's like one less day for you. There are solutions to this, but they all involve more money.
Yep.
And I don't think throwing more money at it fixes it long term, because the tournaments keep getting bigger and bigger.
It is weird to think that, okay, tournament last year, let's say it was 400, right? Let's say in the Masters division for TCG specifically, you had 400 competitors. It is weird to cut it down so much. Like, I understand as things get bigger and bigger, you don't want to have to continue adding on. But like, you're doing it at 400 or 300 now. It is weird to cut it back so far when like it is working right now. It's not as if it's like it's well overgrown and now you're like, well, we need to cut it back. It seems like they're future proofing to some extent as things get bigger, but it feels like they're really cutting it back for how many there were in this year, maybe last year. to cut it down to, like you said, like 125 for Masters with
125
TCG.
plus anyone who has won an IC. Those people don't take
I
away
guess
from
those
the
aren't
slot.
those don't count, right?
So you're probably plus like that was 125 US only.
Oh, that's right. You were talking. Okay.
So it was like
only,
25 125 US, 75 for Brazil, 75, I think 75 Australia. So I think you are still getting close to 500 players when you take in all the countries.
You are. Okay. I was when you were saying 400, I was actually thinking about it just from that specific.
So yeah, I don't think Yokohama was 400 then. I think Yokohama was way more than 400.
Yeah, because this is 250, 350. This is 380.
380 plus probably. They're probably expecting around 400 people.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll find out how many people are going to Hawaii, because that would probably be the most amount of people they've had qualify and go. They did come out with a tweet. So they posted the changes on the 27th. We're recording this on the 30th. And then literally the same day on the 27th at 8:00 p.m. They love tweeting at night. Thank you, everyone, for the feedback to the changes implemented in the upcoming 2025 competitive season. Evolving the competitive structure is an ongoing process. We value our community's sentiment and suggestions. In the meantime, please keep providing us with your thoughts. We look forward to continuing to mature the competitive ecosystem to provide the best player experience for our players, fans, and spectators.
Wow. Same day, huh? Same day. They got at least a thank you for the feedback. Keep bringing it on tweet. Interesting how companies can do that. In the same day, they can provide another tweet to let you know they're hearing you.
People were angry.
This tweet very much gave the impression of like, we hear you. We don't care.
Yeah, this was not the same thing. Not the same thing as the TCG art competition. Not the same kind of statement.
I was comparing it more to Niantic.
Yeah.
Just to acknowledge that they know people are mad.
True. I think there's a deeper conversation to have, but we're already running over, and I have an appointment. So I think we'll circle back to this, but it hasn't even been a week, so maybe the next time we record, there will be more to this. But I think, again, the overall problem is Pokemon has gotten too big, and now they're trying to figure out how to manage the explosion that they've had in the competitive scene, which is a good problem to have. Don't get me wrong. It's just they need to figure out a system that is fair to everyone, especially people who can't afford to travel every single weekend to qualify for a match. So,
yeah.
But anyways, we'll be at GoFest. We'll probably be recording an episode on like Wednesday that will come out on Monday, so I don't have to record while I'm in New York. So we'll probably continue this conversation, and there's some other stuff we haven't covered. So if there is breaking news on like Thursday or Friday, just know that the next episode will be recorded a little early.
Oh, hey, congrats on Dragon Sceptile finally arriving.
Oh yeah, we were right. My next guess would be dark for. I would not my next guess. I do think for Alligator is going to be dark. I don't know about the other ones though. That's tough. I'd have to like really consider like Torterra. I think Infernape would make sense electric, but I don't have a good justification why. I'd have to relook at its moveset.
Has any of them been just the type that they already are? I've asked this before.
Primarina.
Primarina. Oh, right. It was fairy, huh?
Primarina and something else was exactly the type they were. I don't remember the other one.
Well, without knowing any of Torterra's moves or anything, I'm just going to go with it just being grass, because Torterra just gives off the vibes that it would just be its type.
It is a tree. If you need help with Sceptile, my video does have counters. They all work great. I really enjoyed the Sceptile raid. I thought it was actually really well done. I thought it was really cool on how they structured that one. But I don't know. If you need help, the Discord and Slack, they figured it out. They know how to do it. They'll get you through. Cool. Can't wait to see everyone at GoFest if you're there. Thanks for making it to the end. If you're watching on YouTube, I'd comment something. Comment something. Give us hit the like button. Comment something for interaction. Even if
do you want
just
Steve to eat the salt pizza?
Salted pizza.
The salted pizza.
Salted pizza.
Comment what you put salt on that you think other people would find weird, but you think is normal. That's what you can comment. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Bobby. This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast.
Super effective.
Yeah. Yep, we're super effective.
I don't think the salt pizza would be that bad.
I agree. I'm kind of sad you didn't eat it still.
Not a good decision. You didn't eat it.
I didn't eat it. I threw it away.
Yeah, so you didn't think it'd be bad, but you didn't eat it.
It was 3 days old, Bobby.
Yeah, it's understandable.